Good morning, girls. I am excited to share with you this morning about how to be a forward thinker. We are going to be talking about some different areas, 5 areas that you can be a forward thinker when it comes to your business and life. So if you want to grab your pen really quick, we can take a couple of notes. It's not going to be real long, but it's really nice and effective to think about these things as you're scheduling jewelry shows and working your business. The first area that you can be a forward thinker is in your calendar. It is very important for you to have your area school's calendar, whether you have children or not. I think it's important for you to know when kids are on school breaks, when Christmas break and spring break and maybe winter break and all those kinds of things are, so that when you're scheduling jewelry shows with girls in that area, you can say, is this break going to affect your jewelry show? It is only helping you and her in the long run. I've had a lot of gals that love to know when is Easter because they just want to know it. So knowing those kinds of things, Easter, Mother's Day, Valentine's Day is clearly always the same day, but it's good for girls to know that ahead of time. And even giving that to them by scheduling January jewelry shows to say, hey, you could talk to your friends' husbands or significant others about purchasing gifts for Valentine's Day. That way you can increase your sales and do all sorts of great things with it that way. And then just letting them decide if that date is still good for them. I have girls that say all the time, I appreciate you so much for sharing that with me. I scheduled a jewelry show just on April 10th, which falls during spring break. We stay home. But I had said to her, knowing that she has an 8-year-old son, is that going to be a problem for you because that is during spring break? And she said, nope, none of my friends spring break, but thanks so much for letting me know about that and reminding me. So being aware and thinking ahead that way is really helpful. Additionally, looking forward into your calendar, I know for us, we plan pretty much a good 3 to 6 months in advance. So our summer vacations going up to my parents' family cottage with my grandparents, already on the calendar. Rally, already on the calendar. Putting those kinds of things in so that way you can make sure that you are prepared. I loved in Tanya's goals training how she talked about how your goals need to be of personal value along with for your financial goals. So making sure that they go hand in hand. And I loved that because when I mapped out December, we have just about 2 weeks to do jewelry shows here in December. And so I had to make sure that I was still doing my 6 to 7 jewelry shows that requires me to do in a month. Well, my youngest daughter's birthday fell on a Monday. And so I still ended up doing a jewelry show on her birthday. We just celebrated her on Sunday because it was just, I needed some days as options to do all 7 of my jewelry shows for this month. And so making sure that that goes in planning of your calendar too, and speaking and talking about that with your husband or your significant other, or planning that out with your accountability partner so that those things match up. You also need to be a forward thinker in your follow-up with a hostess, maybe even just closing out a jewelry show or follow up with a prospect, making sure that in your calendar it works for the time and day that you set to close out her jewelry show. So if you say, let's close it out on Tuesday afternoon, great, and then you get home and you look at your calendar and Tuesday afternoon is full, and that's just not very fair to her to know that you're backing out on an appointment that you have already set. And so knowing that calendar is always a good thing. Write it down. Make sure that you are following through on your end. It just shows very good etiquette and very good consciousness of her time. And so that way you make sure that you follow up in a timely manner and when you say you were, especially when following up with prospects, we want to make sure that we do that too. The third area that you can be a forward thinker is in your preparation. As we look at our jewelry shows now, this time of year in the great state of Michigan, the Mitten State, it is snowy and it is dark when we are on our way to our jewelry shows. Which for me means I need to know if she has Christmas lights on her house, or maybe she's next door to the town spectacle of Christmas lights. as in her neighbor's home and yard. And so keeping in knowledge of that, my show last night said, I have wreaths in every window. It made it very easy to find her home in the dark, to find her wreaths, and just know that, oh, there's my house. I'm not looking for a specific number. Also be mindful and very considerate of the fact that we are a guest in her home. And as much as we want to treat them as our best friend and a close friend, we also need to be mindful of the fact that we are a stranger to her. And so I think it is very considerate, especially on these snowy days. I always wear my snow boots to take all my stuff and set it right inside of her door. And then once I get into her house, I take off my snow boots and I put on my shoes that I'm wearing that evening. That way I'm not tracking snow and all that stuff into her home. I'm making a mess and that kind of thing, and I'm still able to wear shoes. I have several hostesses all the time that say, I don't care if you wear shoes as long as they're not wet and muddy. Well, then I can still wear my shoes. Making sure that you're packed properly, making sure that you're forward thinking enough to make sure that you have enough order forms and guest surveys and things to give prospects, and all of those kinds of things come in forward thinking. You can also prep for your next show while you're at your show. When it comes to retagging your jewelry, I know that my sister Beck, she just restuffs her lap boards as much as she can at her jewelry show. So she refills them with their guest surveys and their order forms and that kind of a thing while she's at her show. So when she gets home, she has less work. But that is a good forward thinker when you pre-prep yourself to think ahead, to have that ready so that you are taking less time at home to take care of it. The fourth thing that you can be a forward thinker in is in your day. Planning out your day so that you can work it effectively, making a checklist if you're a checklist girl. I love my week and the fact that I do certain things on certain days. Wednesdays is replacement and exchange days. Thursdays I work on invitations. Tuesdays, just every day I have one job that I have to for sure do along with other things. And Tanya had mentioned that as well in her goals training, is planning out your day to make sure that you get everything accomplished in that day that you need to for your business and for your life. And so that is a good thing to do, to be a forward thinker, to write it down, to make sure that you are accomplishing it in the day and time frame that you need to. The fifth thing that you want to be a forward thinker in is in case of an emergency. I know that we don't want to think about having things happen in our life that maybe be last minute, but just like our hostesses have last minute sicknesses and illnesses and deaths in the family, we do too. What do you do when that happens? When your son or daughter is sick or you find yourself sick? Do you just cancel the show on her last minute? No, you never want to leave your hostess high and dry. You want to make sure that you have a backup. I would definitely always call your premier mom immediately if you know that that day that you're having a jewelry show, you are ill and unable to go and do her jewelry show. Now, girls, I'm talking ill. You have super contagious strep throat, or you are throwing it up. But let me tell you, you need to persevere if you just are having a mild head cold and show up at her home. If you have a sick child, if you have a husband that is capable of doing it, tell him, I'll be home in a couple of hours, honey. What do you do about bad weather? I always leave that up to my hostesses. I will go as far and ready as you need me to go. My show for Tuesday night, she had called me midday and said, "You're still coming, right?" And I said, yes. She goes, "Okay, good, because I have girls coming," with the weather getting yucky. And so just keeping that in mind, making sure that you have good communication with your hostess and persevering, making sure you have enough time so that you can get there in time to serve her and your hostesses. Never ever have your phone on during your jewelry show. On meaning like ringable. I would always put it on silent or vibrate during your jewelry show. That way you are still able to look at it. My phone's always with me because of my credit card processing and calculator. and I'm sure most of you find yourself in the same situation, but you want to make sure that you have the ability to, if there is an emergency, then the person that needs to get a hold of you can either text you or call you. I did have it one time. My son was in the ER getting stitches, and so I just said to my hostess, it was kind of towards the end, and I said, my husband's called me like 3 times. Do you mind if I just take this really quick? Something must be wrong. And matter of fact, clearly something was wrong. And so we just wrapped up the show, and I headed on over to the ER to be with him. But just thinking of these few ways to be forward thinking always triggers some new ways to think in a forward manner. Being mindful and considerate, and it definitely is very time conscious for yourself. So I just want to encourage you girls to think about some things ahead of time so that way you can have a very successful day. Talk to you soon.